Hello everybody, hi, welcome to this speed build video. Today we are building a cottage heavily inspired by the Disney movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So it's actually been a really long time since I've seen this movie. I think this might have been the very first Disney movie I ever saw, possibly the very first movie I ever saw in general. The cottage that I am building is the Seven Dwarfs cottage that Snow White finds after she gets lost in the woods. So this cottage is located in the middle of the forest. As I said, this is the cottage that she finds when she gets lost in the woods. There's this really beautiful stream that kind of runs in front of the house, and I was really glad that I could recreate that now because we have the water tool. Other than that, I built this in the new cottage living world, all the way on top of the hill, so it's kind of in the middle of nowhere in the Sims world as well. And I also placed a lot of trees around the lot to kind of give it that hidden away in the forest kind of feel. So as you might be able to tell by the footage, I actually struggled a lot with the chimney that is to the right side of the house. The chimney piece that I was using became too big if I sized it up too much, but then if I sized it down a little bit, it wasn't tall enough. So the first thing I tried was raising it up by using a wall. But I didn't really like the way that ended up looking, so in the end I used two chimney pieces and kind of blended them together and raised one up to have the right size but then also the right heights, and I really like the way that ended up looking, so that's what I stuck with in the end. So the biggest challenge for me while building this house was that the original house isn't really meant to look very cozy or detailed or inviting. It's actually quite a functional house, a simple house. It kind of does what it's supposed to do, and that's it. The dwarves don't really necessarily need anything else or anything more. But Sims houses usually look better when you do add a lot of detail, so it was a difficult balance between staying true to the original but also translating it to the Sims in a way that made sense and a way that made it work. So I think my final solution was to add more detail but make it make sense within the story world. So for example, the landscaping that I added, I made sure that it all seemed like it belongs in the forest, that it was kind of naturally growing in the forest instead of being planted there by the dwarves, because I don't really think that they necessarily would do that. So I added those landscaping details, but I made it all very natural looking to kind of strike a nice balance between staying true to the story but also adding that detail, making it look pretty, making it look nice. So another little story detail that I added to this build is that I actually placed 7 gnomes around the lots, kind of as a nod to the original Seven Dwarfs. We don't really have dwarfs in The Sims, but we do have gnomes, and I feel like those two are kind of similar, so I placed 7 little garden gnomes outside and inside and kind of in funny positions, sitting on things, standing on things. So let me know if you spotted all 7 of them in this video. I kind of thought that was a fun little story detail I could add to really make this feel like Snow White. So pretty soon we'll be moving on to the interior of this build. I do have to say that I kind of struggled with the layout of this place. There weren't that many reference pictures that really showed where things were in relation to each other. So I kind of made my own floor plan, but made sure that I had all the elements included, everything that we could see in the movie, to have all of that, have all of those furniture pieces, and then kind of take creative liberties on where things are, and also add in some furniture because there wasn't really like a full functioning kitchen in the original house, but this is a Sims build and I wanted it to be functional, so I added a kitchen and everything like that. But I did make sure to kind of have like the fireplace and the dining table and all of those details that we can see in the movie that I could find in reference pictures, to have those included. So I think the most accurate way of describing this build would be the Seven Dwarfs cottage, but maybe upgraded a few years down the road to include things like electricity and a kitchen. But I did really keep the original vibe in mind, so that would be a lot of wooden furniture and also homemade furniture, things that the dwarfs could have made themselves. So for example, the dining table chairs look very wonky and just kind of homemade, like something that happened in a DIY project and not something that was bought at a furniture store that probably didn't exist at the time that this cottage was built. I also placed 3 beds instead of 7. There's supposed to be 7 tiny beds, so the most accurate way of depicting that would probably be like placing 7 toddler beds in this build, but that's not really functional in The Sims, so I just placed 3 beds in the space that we had. Also for the decorations, I made sure that they were all very functional, things that could actually be used. So I placed a lot of like shelves for storage. My favorite bit is actually the tool rack that I hung up next to the door, because I can kind of just imagine them coming home from mining and hanging up their pickaxes there. I also put a lot of tools that I found in the debug menu around the place. So for example, there is a pickaxe stuck in the table in the original, but we don't have pickaxes in The Sims, so I put a saw on the table, and I just kind of added in those kind of details, made sure that most of the decorations are more functional than decorative. Because again, I don't really think that the dwarfs would concern themselves very much with decorating their house, but I wanted it to look nice and cluttered and fully decorated in The Sims, so I kind of struck that balance again between staying true to the original but also making it look nice. And that actually means we are nearing the end of this video. You can find this build on the gallery. My origin ID is always in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you did, and I will see you very soon. Bye everyone.